Hey guys, it's Sammy, welcome back to my channel, and today I am doing my October wrap-up. I know this is late, I'm sorry, but I am finally back at home. I'm on Thanksgiving break right now, and I could not be more excited because this finally means I get to film some good quality videos for you guys. And that's really what I've been waiting for because I haven't been uploading a lot, obviously, because I didn't want to put out like haphazard videos for you guys. I really wanted to put out good videos, and at school I really did not have the time for it, and I was putting up some videos, but they were not super great. I'm really proud of my dorm room tour, so I'll link that up above for you guys so you guys can check that out if you're interested. But yeah, today we're doing my October wrap-up. I'm so excited at how many books I read in October, but without further ado, let's get into it. So starting off, I'm going to move over here because I'm going to try to do something new, which is like some stats. I've seen a bunch of different booktubers do it, Books and Lala does it, I think Hard by Quarter does it. I just thought it'd be really interesting since I'm not always super great at explaining these books. I feel like giving some stats about them would really enhance the experience. This month I read 1 physical book, 1 ebook, and listened to 3 audiobooks for a total of 5 books. 3 were written by female authors and 2 were written by male. The average page number for all these books is around 310 pages. So that's with the physical copies. The average audiobook was around 7 hours. So yeah, those are some stats for you guys. None of these books were on voices this month. None of them were particularly diverse either. 2 of the books I read were by a Korean American author, but I don't believe, I know one for a fact, the characters in one of her novels were not any sort of Korean American, but I'm not entirely sure if the characters in the other book are of Asian descent, Korean, because it's kind of like ambiguous, like they're not like really fleshed out like that, but I'll get into that. So yeah, that's the stats for this month, and the average rating of all the books I read was 3.9 stars, so a pretty decent reading month in my opinion. So if you like this sort of stat thing, I plan on doing more of it. These are the kind of the stats I came up with so far. If you're interested in any other stats, comment down below some other stats you would like to see about my reading. I will definitely try to include them in the next wrap-up. But without further ado, let's get into more specific wrap-up on the books I read. I started off by reading Ben Franklin, the Original Entrepreneur, which is Ben Franklin's autobiography rewritten into new language, easier to understand. This is by Blaine McCormick. I had to read this for one of my business classes, which is Why Good Managers Make Bad Decisions. So I read this. It was on ebook. It was pretty quick. The book is split in half. Like one side is the original text and this is like the other side is the new version. So it was like half the book, it really was. So it was really easy to read. Pretty simple autobiography of Benjamin Franklin. I mean, if you are at all interested in anything entrepreneurial, interested in Ben Franklin, I would recommend it. I think it's a cool book to read, especially if you're into history, entrepreneurship, business, anything like that. But it really just documented his early life to around his midlife. It didn't really go into any of his like founding father stuff. So basically just his entrepreneurial life, all his inventions, businesses, models that he did, all that kind of stuff. So if you're interested in that, check it out. The next book I read, however, knocked me off my feet. I was so glad I finally got to read this, and that was 3 Dark Crowns by Kendar Blake. This is the book I'm talking about when I said I wasn't sure if the 3 main characters in this are of Korean descent. I know all 3 of them do have dark black hair. They might fit that profile. It never says anything distinctly that they are of Korean descent. There's nothing in the world that distinctly links the 2 culture, like links Korean culture, not that I recognized at least, so I'm not sure. Regardless, it doesn't really dive into any sort of Korean culture, so I wouldn't exactly classify it as own voices. While I'd said that, let's get into really what this novel is about. This book is about 3 triplet princesses that each have their very own special magical ability. They must fight each other to the death for the crown. I adored this book so much, and I knew I was going to love it. I knew from the moment I saw the cover, I knew that I was going to love this book. There was something about it that was just so haunting and beautiful that I adored it before I even read it. And when it obviously lived up to my expectations 100-fold, I loved this book to death. The magic system in this was really well fleshed out. I loved the 3 characters, Mirabella, Aaron, I'm not sure how that name should be pronounced, and Catherine. I personally have a strong attachment to Catherine for unknown reasons, really. She's probably my favorite queen out of the 3. I loved them. This book includes a lot of characters, and at first I thought it was going to be overwhelming keeping track of all the characters. It's also told in 3 points of views from the 3 different triplets, or not exactly the point of views. This book is in 3rd person, so it just follows the 3 sisters at their different locations throughout this big island. So I thought it would be really confusing with the 3 different narratives, all the different characters. There's so many side characters, but I think that's really what makes this novel so great, is there's so many storylines to be watching. There's so many storylines you're reading and taking in, and they're so good. There was never a part where I was like, I don't really feel like reading about the storyline. They're all so interesting and so good, and I just loved it. The ending was spectacular. Everything in this book was so well done, and I cannot explain how much I love this book. This book obviously is also about a matriarchy, which is women in power instead of kings. The 3 princesses pick their kings instead of, the other way around that it's usually in fantasy novels. The magic system in this was really interesting. One of the sisters is an elemental, the other is a naturalist, and the 3rd is a poisonist, which is you can ingest any kind of poison, because I wasn't very sure what that even was before I read it, but that is Catherine, and she's my favorite. So, I loved her storyline so much. I'm not going to get too much into it. I do plan on doing a spoiler-free and spoiler review for this. I have it sort of planned out, but I haven't had time to do it, and hopefully my memory hasn't faded too much. I did take notes, but I mean, like, I don't know. Hopefully that will be going up soon. I do plan on filming it while I'm on break. But yeah, if I can recommend one book this year that is underhyped, it will definitely be this one. This will definitely be one of my favorite books of the year. I love this, and I hate that it's so underrated. Also, the next book is out. I'm yet to read One Dark Throne, so I need to make sure I read that. Yeah, I need to get to that, but I'm so happy with this. So happy. I obviously gave this book 5 stars. 5 stars. 5 stars. Love it. Yeah. And then these next 8 books are audiobooks. This is when I started to get super into audiobooks because my campus is huge. I am always walking. I walk probably around 2.5 hours a day just between classes. So reading a 6-hour audiobook can be done in one day if I do it on 2 times speed, which is usually what I do at 1.5 or 2 times speed, just because, I don't know, sometimes I feel like I watch my YouTube videos on 2 times speed too, and it just like makes everything so much better. Separate from the point. Anyway, the next 3 books I'm going to talk about are audiobooks, so I don't have them to show you, but yeah. The first audiobook I listened to was Anna Dressed in Blood by Kendar Blake. This was around Halloween time, so I was scouring through Overdrive, which is my libraries. You can get ebooks and audiobooks on there. Love it. Shout out Overdrive. I'll link it down below. Check out if your library is on it, because honestly, such a blessing. Anyway, I checked if they had any like Halloween reads that I had on my TBR. They had Anna Dressed in Blood, so I picked it up. After seeing some reviews and after reading Three Dark Crowns, I had some kind of high expectations for this, and this book was definitely not bad. It just wasn't what I was looking for, I guess. I gave this book 3 stars. I did not hate it. Do not get me wrong. I really did like the narrative style of this. This is about a ghost hunter named Cass, who ever since his father's died has kind of hunted down all these different ghosts and killed them and sent them to wherever they go. And that's kind of just the job he's picked up on. So he moves to all these different towns and hunts all these different like infamous ghosts, like the ghost stories that keep you up at night, kind of stuff like that. So that's what the story was about, and it turned into like a paranormal romance, which like I've read plenty of paranormal romances, because technically vampires, werewolves, whatever, they're all paranormal romances, but it freaked me out when it was with a ghost because ghosts aren't real, and none of these creatures are real, but like when it was a ghost, I was like, I don't know, it kind of gave me like weird vibes. I don't know if it was just this book or like it's all ghosts, paranormal romances in general, but it really just didn't sit well with me. All the characters were really cool. I really liked his mom. It was a paranormal romance. This Cass runs into this ghost in his new town named Anna. It's been a really tragic story, so half the story is about like trying to figure out what happened to Anna, why is she like eating these people and killing all these people in this town, and part of it's like Cass falling in love with Anna, and it's like, interesting. Yeah. I don't know, it just was a weird story for me. And that's saying so much because I read literal stories about vampires and humans. Ghost was too far for me apparently, so my line is at Ghost right now. Unless it was just this book. I'll probably read another paranormal romance with ghosts in the future. I don't know. I enjoyed this book. I would recommend it. It just wasn't for me because the ghost thing freaked me out, so yeah. Next book I read was a stellar audiobook, and that was Sleeping Giants by Sylvain Nouvelle, I think. I said that right, hopefully. But this is a full cast audiobook. This centers around this crew of people after they find this one hand in the middle of like the forest, and like they're trying to find every part to this big thing, and they keep finding a foot, and they find an arm and a leg, and they keep finding all these body parts around the world, and it's like gonna be created into this big, they don't know. I don't know how to explain it. Basically, it's just like this big mission story about them finding all these parts to this big, they don't know. I did end up only giving this book 3.5 stars. I am continuing on with the series. I did really enjoy this, but I don't know. It was like, I was kind of comparing it to Illuminae, which was dumb of me because I've heard like such great things with the full cast audio on Illuminae, and it just like wasn't Illuminae. And also this is an adult novel, so these are all adults that are in it. But still, very good novel. It was very well done with the audiobook. The story was really great. I just didn't love it. Like some of the character plots I didn't really care about, some of the characters I didn't really care about. So when things kind of happened, I didn't really care about them. The ending was amazing, and I will definitely be reading the next one because it really threw me for a loop. I was like, everything's a lie. My life is a lie. But yeah, I definitely would recommend this. I would especially recommend on audio. I think it was around 7 hours. So 2 times speed, 3.5 hours. Not that bad. Promise, you can do it. I did it. It's good stuff. Would recommend it. 3.5 stars. It wasn't just like the perfect book to me. It was really enjoyable, but yeah. And the last audiobook I listened to was The Girls by Emma Cline. I gave this 4.5 stars. I was very taken aback by this book because at first I was like, what the actual hell is this? Because it was so vulgar and like real. I was like, this is weird. But after reading it and after really like digesting it and thinking about it and just like sitting in my bed in college and being like, oh my god, this was a terrible, like a good, really great book, but like terrible. It was just like so shocking to me that this like really did happen. This experience in general, in specific, didn't actually happen, but these sort of things did happen. And I've watched a lot of documentaries on cults. So basically, if you don't know what this book is about, it's about this girl joining a cult basically, and everything that happened in that cult. I watched a lot of documentaries on it. I haven't really read up on a lot about Manson, but there's been a lot of cults in the 60s, 70s. The things that these leaders made them do, it's really terrible. This book did it really well. This is an adult book. It's very graphic and it's very real. I wouldn't recommend it if you're really young because honestly, I was still kind of shook by some of the things that happened in this book. I was like, I need to take a step back. Also, some of the like language in this was like really like, oh my god. But I did really enjoy it for what it was. I think it really did tell a really great story, and yeah. I don't know what else to say about it. I really think you should read it. It was a great audiobook. I would recommend the audiobook. It was dark. It was really dark. It was probably one of the darkest novels I've ever read. So take that with a grain of salt. And that's gonna be it for this October wrap up. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, all of my social media links are down below. I hope you guys have a great day. Bye!